Hey, what's going on, you guys? Mr. Money 1235 here yet again for another album review. My Chemical Romance. May Death Never Stop You. Can you believe it's been an entire year since these guys broke up? It's just crazy to think about. I associate a whole lot with my earlier teen years with this band. 7th and 8th grade into freshman year of high school, I was listening to Three Cheers for Sweet Revenge like crazy, the Black Parade as well. I actually saw My Chemical Romance on their Black Parade tour in 2007. Muse actually opened up for them, but at the time I had never heard of Muse before, so that was kind of a treat. They were with My Chemical Romance during the time when they first released Black Holes of Revelations. But anyway, I had to give this album a tiny bit of a shout out. I don't normally talk about greatest hits albums because as I've gotten older, I used to be really big into greatest hits albums because I just thought it was an easy way to listen to the band's best material. But I've really gotten into album listening now, more than just listening to greatest hits, because I feel like you miss out on so many important deep cuts and good tracks when you just stick with greatest hits albums. I at least think albums are worth trying out. And this album here is no exception. There are a ton of songs missing that should have been put on this thing. But being in the terms of a greatest hits album, I think this album does it probably the best out of all the greatest hits albums I have. The flow of these songs together are really good. The flow of these songs sound really good. Nothing really sounds out of place even though we're bouncing through 4 different albums on this thing. I think they made a great decision in including the song Mama on this thing. The same thing for Planetary Go. I think that's just great. My Chemical Romance's first album, I Bought You My Bullets, You Bought Me Your Love, is easily my least favorite album from My Chemical Romance. I do not enjoy this album whatsoever, except for the 2 songs that are included on this album. Honey, This Mirror Isn't Big Enough for the Two of Us, and Vampires Will Never Hurt You. Easily the 2 best songs on that entire album in my opinion. The rest of them just kind of go together. But I will say that the demo version of Skyline and Turnstiles that it's included on this Greatest Hits compilation, I might like it even better than the version that is on My Chemical Romance's first album. I don't know why, something is a little bit more raw about it, something feels more live. It doesn't feel as harsh except in the vocals, but honestly, you know, like, that's just an opinion of mine. So for me personally, I like the only 2 tracks that are included on this thing from their first album just because I'm not a huge fan of their first album. Three Cheers for Sweet Revenge gets just fucking screwed on this album, though. There are so many other songs that should have been included on this compilation, but I understand. They did what they can. They picked some really great songs. But, you know, songs like Give 'Em Hell, Kid, and To the End, The Jet Set Life Is Gonna Kill You, Thank You for the Venom, these songs are not on this album. And I get, they did what they could. Those are just some of my favorite MCR songs. Three Cheers might actually be my favorite MCR album right next to Fabulous Killjoys. But I digress. The really good songs that are included on this album, the tracks from that album that are included on this thing are Helena, You Know What They Do to Guys Like Us in Prison, I'm Not Okay, and Ghost of You. Those are the only tracks from Three Cheers that are on this thing, but you know, they did what they can, like I said. And of course, all the Black Parade songs that you figured would be on an album like this are on this album. Famous Last Words, Teenagers, Cancer, Welcome to the Black Parade. Like I said, I'm really surprised that Mama showed up on this thing, but I'm really happy it's on here because that's another one of my favorite songs from the Black Parade. I'm actually totally happy with the amount of songs from the Black Parade that are on this thing. I just don't come all over that album like the rest of the world does for some reason. I don't know if maybe I've just grown out of it or if I just prefer the more raw sound and the more experimental acoustic sounds on Killjoys, but I don't know. I don't know what the deal is with that with me. I will say they should have put House of Wolves on here if I had to pick one more. That song is kick-ass. And then we have a version of Na 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 that doesn't have that intro attached to it. Like when you listen to it on the album, it just starts with the guitar riff. Na 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 is a kick-ass song. Of course it's going to be on here. It's the first single. It's going to be on this album. Then we got Sing and Planetary Go, which I'm really happy ended up on this thing. Planetary Go being one of my favorite songs from Killjoys on this album. I really wish they included The Only Hope for Me Is You on here because that is also another one of my huge favorites from Killjoys. But instead we get The Kids of Yesterday, which in my opinion is one of their worst songs. And don't worry, I didn't forget about it. I will talk about the song Fake Your Death. I just don't think you're going to like me too much for it. I don't really like this song. They made this whole big deal about how it was the last song that they all recorded together and they put it on this album just to say goodbye and stuff like that. But my question is, why did you make a song that sounds so much like The Kids of Yesterday and something that's almost, I'm going to be honest, a tiny bit boring? This track is a tiny bit repetitive. Sure, the lyrics, you know, I get what they're coming from about they're saying goodbye. But don't they know that MCR fans love the really pumping, hard fucking rock songs that they used to make? I just think they should have made like, you know, a really jamming song, something really old school, I don't know, just something that wasn't like the kids of yesterday, which is another song that hasn't really warmed up too much on me ever since I first heard Killjoys. I think that's a disappointingly boring, slow song. But whatever, it's the first track on this album, it's there if you want to hear a new song, but I'm just a little bit disappointed that's all they could come up with. The other two demos that are included on this thing, other than that Skyline and Turnstiles I already talked about, are songs that I honestly don't really care for that much. They sound like demo tracks that could be thrown onto MCR's first album. They're not really memorable to me, and I don't really care about having this material, honestly, but it's there for you to enjoy. I know there's a whole lot of people who really love their first album, and those tracks are going to be well suited for you. So in all, I gotta say that this is a really good compilation. It's great. Absolutely perfect for someone who's just getting into My Chemical Romance. It is literally the best starting point in my mind. These songs offer up a really good way to tell the different sounds that they were going through with each album. Each album in its own way was really different. Maybe not from their first album to their second, even though I do think the second had a little bit more of a melody-driven focus. Songs didn't feel so fucking chaotic like they did on their first album. It was like controlled chaos, which I'm personally more of a fan of. I just don't like harsh noise and weird singing in spots like I thought their first album was filled with, which is why I don't like it that much. But that's just a personal thing once again, so like I said, if you're just getting into MCR, pick this shit up, it's great. Gets a good recommendation from me. Mr. Money 1, 2, 3, 5. I'll see you guys later.